I'm just trying to get you.
Oh, it's not happening. I'm going to be
sorry,
in
pal.
such a terrible mood all day. And
Don't be in a
it's totally
terrible
fine.
mood.
Why?
I'm sorry.
Why would I
about
not
it.
be in a terrible mood?
I know.
My favorite player on my favorite team is now out probably all of next year. And the Celtics, as currently constructed, it's over. The era's over. Their run is over. It was great. Got a championship. But it all ended last night. And I'm really sad. I'm really bummed. And it's going to take a while to get over.
Well, in terms of that, too, I mean, we're obviously referring to Jayson Tatum going down with what appears to be an Achilles. I thought, because, he was writhing in pain, and they go to commercial break, and we started texting each other. When Achilles get torn or popped in any way, shape, or form, right, that you normally see the guys don't, they're not writhing in pain, right? Like when Dame Lillard went down, he just sat there, right? Aaron Rodgers went down, he sat there.
You've seen differences.
Like Kevin Durant, remember we watched it. We watched his calf like twitch, right? Like we saw the super slow-mo because it was in the NBA Finals when they have 50 slow-mo cameras on every single human being.
Yeah. Kobe was just in shock. I mean, look, I've seen different reactions.
So I just thought we would come back and we would see him diving for the loose ball, and he was stepping on someone's shoe, right? Like his ankle would have just rolled something horrible, but instead it was when it looks like he was propelling himself towards the loose ball, no contact, and we're still waiting to hear the word here from Boston. Or I guess New York. Maybe he got it done, just down the street from Madison Square Garden. I don't know. The MRI is going to come back, and I think we're going to find out that he's not only just done for the series, but as you point out, Chris, the foreseeable future. And he was having the night. Now, obviously, in the first two games of this series, when the Celtics were missing most of their threes, there was even conversation like, where's Jayson Tatum's hallmark game, big moment? And obviously, Chris, you pushed back being the big fan.
He's had several.
Right, you pushed back with a handful of them.
Right.
But in terms of his career writ large, last night was being authored as his Madison Square Garden moment. And everybody, all the greats have their Madison Square Garden moments. Against the Knicks, obviously. And he was having it. At one point, Mike Breen appropriately said he was unguardable. He was unguardable. He was absolutely unguardable. And his three-point shooting at the end of the first half sparked a 12-0 run because I think Derek White made one and Pritchard made one.
Derek White started on fire last night. Tatum had 15 in the first quarter. He was on one right from the get-go.
But it was a one-possession game with 2 minutes to go in the first half, and then, boom, double digits, which is what the Celtics carried into the third quarter, in which Brunson began to answer back.
Brunson was unreal in the third.
He had almost 20 points in the third quarter, and that's what last night was. Breen, in the same breath that he called Tatum unguardable, he called Brunson unstoppable. This is why Breen has the Emmys. And it was an absolute classic unfolding in the Garden. And the Knicks did have a couple possession lead when Jaylen Brown lost control of the ball. OG Anunoby picked it up for an uncontested dunk on the other end. And the Celtics season and potentially next season and future got altered on the spot. And the Knicks finished it up, 121-113, and in finishing it up to take a 3-1 lead on the Celtics, the broadcast, the ESPN broadcast, showed Tatum in a wheelchair in the tunnel. And, Jaylen Brown had this to say after the game.
I think everybody's concerned, with Jason. I'm not sure how bad it is. Didn't look great. But I think everybody is, kind of more concerned with that. Obviously, the loss is huge. And but we got to get ready for Game 5. So we'll take the night and pick our heads up tomorrow and put together a game plan to come out on our own floor keep the series alive.
Well, he's going to have to, with Tatum out, because I can't imagine the news is going to come back so positively that it's just he'll be there for Game 5, let alone have an intact Achilles. When we hear, at some point, we assume over the next 3 hours, that Brown's going to have to crush it. He's going to have the nights of his life to extend the series, to at least force a Game 6 and force the pressure back on the Knicks to avoid a Game 7. But these are just only the best case scenarios. And I'm sorry, Chris. As you know, I also live in a household of Celtics fans. I'm married into a family of Celtics fans. This guy is a superstar of superstars, having one of the biggest nights of his career. Every single time he touched the ball, like it's going in. And when he missed, it was kind of surprising.
Yeah,
on a
he
night like
was
last
having
night.
a great night. Unfortunately, he was kind of the only one. It was him and Derek White kind of carrying this team. Jaylen Brown didn't have a great game. Pritchard was kind of off. And Porzingis is obviously still feeling the effects of whatever illness is.
But he was out there at
Hasn't
least,
played,
right?
but he was out there, but it was
some
like
of the first 2 games of the series where he just
Yeah,
disappeared.
but he clearly wasn't kind of doing anything. Horford wasn't doing anything, and they had no answer for the Knicks. Best offensive night of the Knicks in this series. Credit all to them. Jalen Brunson, OG, and Mikal Bridges were awesome. Seemed like every time they had an open 3, it was going in, and Bridges had that mid-range game going. Bummer. Probably maybe the Celtics wouldn't have won anyway, but the last 3 minutes was shaping up to be an absolute.
It's like, here comes Brunson,
an
here comes
absolute
Tatum.
battle.
It was a prize fight in the Garden.
Yeah.
42 points for Tatum. 42. 16 to 28 shooting. Quite frankly,
Yeah, really.
every time
he could have had a 50-piece last night for all we know.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it was like 6 minutes left for when he scored his 42nd, and I thought, okay,
Yeah,
he's going to put up 50 tonight.
Yeah. He had to. If they were going to win the game, he kind of had to do that. But unfortunately, played out how
And it's like you said,
did.
man. We were setting this up, Brunson and him, back and forth, blow for blow, punch for punch, kick for kick. It was like watching a great battle in an octagon or a boxing. It was
a great game.
And before this marred everything, I was already making notes about how I was going to come in here saying. The Scott Foster treatment, his thumb was on your scale last night for a while. No first half free throws for the New York Knicks in the playoff game.
You got to go to the basket to get free throws. Jaylen Brown was in inexplicable foul trouble. Like some of those.
So was Josh Hart.
Some of those.
It was
on
crazy.
both sides. What?
Right. Pritchard got 2 free throws after a clear travel underneath the basket.
He got shoved in the back.
But no, I mean, it was. It was. I don't know, man.
Tatum double dribbled for on the one and one that he got, and it was just kind of like, okay.
What are you looking at?
The Brunson called Brunson does that thing that Reggie Miller used to do, where he sticks out his foot in the landing spot.
You're talking about the
Jaylen Brown
the
foot
flagrant
didn't
foul?
even move, and then Brunson sticks out his leg and lands on Brown, and that's a foul on Brown. Like
Hart definitely tripped Tatum on the way to the rack that one play.
Yeah, where he hurt his wrist.
Yeah,
by the way,
certainly threw his
Joe
leg
Mazzulla
out
wasn't.
there.
I think Breen even pointed out Mazzulla's not yelling at him to get up from this one.
Yeah. Officiating was kind of dicey last night, but it didn't matter. The level of basketball being played was so high.
It was great.
And it's kind of what we were hoping for in this series all along. But
and Rich, we talk. I know you specifically don't like it when players load manage and take games off, right? There's a guy that we never really talk about is Mikal Bridges. I don't think this dude's ever missed a basketball game in his entire life.
I think since high school, right?
He's had a really long streak.
Every night he's there, like you said, the mid-range, he was looking like a mid-2000s Sean Livingston. Just the elbow jumper was just on point. Like, this guy gets no real recognition, but they don't win that game last night without him kind of bridging the gap.
He was hitting everything.
Brunson.
44 minutes last night. 11 of 21 for Bridges and a 23-point night. Karl-Anthony Towns, 23 and 11. And OG Anunoby, 20 points last night as well. Yeah. Josh Hart with just 6, but 9 rebounds, 5 assists. And then, of course, there's the maestro himself, quite frankly, with Marbury there. I was explaining to Cooper. That's Marbury. That's Latrell Sprewell. That's John Starks. That's Bernard King. That's Larry Johnson.
That's Walt Clyde Frazier.
And that's Walt Clyde Frazier, and that's the schmecky guy in the hat. We won't talk about him. But, and Brunson, and there was Ewing, obviously. And there's Jalen Brunson, who is 100% in that mix with these all-time Knicks, if not the best of his generation.
And Rich,
and what he's turned into, let me have a couple seconds here. What he has turned into, the clutch player that he is, the facilitator that he also can be. He had 12 assists last night. When this team was down and staring in the face, and my Knicks fan friends were texting me, this is Celtics in 6. Honestly, because it was looking that way. Tatum's unstoppable, and the defense was smothering, and the Knicks were getting frustrated. We were just a couple minutes away from the Mitchell Robinson free throw palooza, and the guy who prevented that from happening was Jalen Brunson. All of it. Now, the Knicks did the right thing. I said it at the time, and all of my Knicks fan friends were flipping out about Julius Randle being sent away and the big ragu. And Randle has the Timberwolves sitting up 3-1 in another series marred by injury. And we'll talk about that with Howard Beck of The Ringer in a second. And Randle has been spectacular in the playoffs for the Timberwolves. So this trade is all working out right now. But Karl-Anthony Towns coming in, and Bridges, those 5 first-round picks, again, we talk about it in the NFL all the time. When you make these trades and you trade picks,
if it works out, who cares?
We don't talk about it, right? We don't talk about, we talked with Brandon Bean about Josh Allen the other day. We don't talk about how they traded up twice to go get in position for him, right?
Not true.
Don't talk about it. So the 5-1s for Bridges and the trade for Karl-Anthony Towns, as long as it continues to work out and they're healthy enough, because Thibodeau plays like 3.5 people. So and they all play 90 minutes a game. I'm obviously exaggerating. So
that's a record.
And everyone's like staring all over the steering wheel. It looks like the Knicks and Pacers last year, which was the second round exit for the Knicks in 7 games because they ran out of gas and ran out of bodies. We're staring that in the face. But another Jalen Brunson signature game. And my apologies to the Celtics fans. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.